A consortium that includes RMB Ventures and RMB Corvest has acquired 100% of an apparel firm, Kevro. It's not your average apparel firm. And with me, I have Mbongeni Madonsela and Khuthadzo Masindi to talk a little bit more about this deal. Mbongeni, can you start by telling me a little bit about Kevro? Who are they?
Actually, it's an interesting story. The name Kevro came from the initial founders of the business, who are a husband and wife. It was a family business, and it came from a combination of their names, Kevin and Rowan. It started out as a small shop out in the south of Joburg where they were printing T-shirts. It then evolved into a slightly bigger business where another private equity buyer got involved, then on-sold it to Ethos, which we then bought last year. What the business does is it provides corporate and promotional apparel. So what you normally see out there, let's say you have the DHL guy that brings your package, and he'll have a T-shirt with DHL imprinted on it that potentially could be supplied by Kevro. The business generates revenues in excess of 1 billion rands. It's got a footprint across a number of sub-Saharan countries. That is South Africa. We've got a showroom out in Namibia as well as Zambia, and we've got presence in East Africa. So it's actually a business of scale.
And when you're making these types of acquisitions, are you looking for companies that are a particular fit within the broader portfolio, or is each one just looked at for its unique merits?
RMB Ventures is a fundamentalist investor, so we invest based on fundamentals. However, diversification of the portfolio is a key consideration for us. And Kevro, with its unique position in the market as a corporate and promotional apparel, provided us an element of diversification into our portfolio. When you look at our portfolio ex-Kevro, we do not have exposure to a business of this scale and in this market with this market positioning.
So I'm intrigued at the point of the economic cycle. I mean, South Africa's growth we saw last week is 1.7% at the moment. This is mostly a consumer-facing business?
Interestingly, Kevro is not a consumer-facing business. So our end customers are actually corporates. I mean, for instance, if let's say Rand Merchant Bank, for example, is having a big event, let's say a big golf day, they will obviously order T-shirts for all their participants, and those participants will be buying from Kevro. So the actual spend is actually coming from your corporates or your companies. And we found that even though the South African economy has been struggling, your companies and your corporate South Africa has actually been a bit more defensive. I mean, it's not been great, but it's been doing much, much better than the consumers. So when we look at the business, we felt that this business is much more defensive, especially when you compare it to our consumer-facing businesses.
Let's touch on defensiveness, because I understand as South Africans, we all love brands. International brands have a certain cachet, and consumers and individuals and corporates like those big brands. Yet this company is not about big brands. They've developed their own brands, and I understand that's a little bit of a competitive advantage in a very competitive field.
Absolutely, because in this field, if you're selling to corporate end users that are buying a lot of products, you need to be able to first of all, cater to their price needs. You need to be able to also cater to local kind of tastes. So if you're importing brands from overseas and you're selling for a golf day that say RMB wants to have, RMB might have certain requirements that they want to have on those T-shirts. And if it's not your own brand, then you don't have much license to make the right alterations to be able to suit them. So owning the brand actually allows you to be able to move with the market in terms of what it wants, in terms of the quality that they want, and also in terms of being able to give them the price points that they desire, instead of these things being dictated to you from overseas.
I think the one interesting thing is the evolution of the business. So historically, the business was based on our apparel business, which is our engine. The business is now starting to diversify into the gifting industry. And I think our innovation around the gifting category gives us a certain edge over some of the players in the sector. And I do think that our African platform, what that allows us to do is it allows us to satisfy the needs of the South African end user, that being SA corporate, that wants to expand into the rest of the continent and wants the same quality, wants the same price point, but important into our neighbors. So that's one competitive advantage I'd say the business has.
Yeah, I mean, another one that I would add, obviously, is that as the largest corporate apparel sort of provider or supplier in the country, we actually have the benefit of keeping substantial amounts of stock. So if customers were to say, I mean, they're looking to place an order and they want a quick turnaround time, we actually have levels of stock that are able to support those demands. So, and that's sort of an advantage that comes from obviously our size in the market. Because if you're smaller, then you struggle to sort of be able to carry that stock, because it costs obviously a lot of investment to be able to house a lot of stock in your business.
So you've both touched on sub-Saharan Africa as an opportunity in this conversation. Yeah. We keep on waiting for the African Renaissance. Is there a lot of opportunity for this company?
What we have found in our work in the rest of the continent is that there is strong demand for quality at the right price. So a lot of corporates out in the rest of the continent are currently importing goods either from Europe or China at relatively expensive prices. And what Kevro provides is quality at the right price. Therefore, we are able to penetrate certain markets by providing this offering to corporates that have been in dire need of such a service.
And most of the time we find that a lot of our customers, I mean, you'll see there's a lot of South African-based companies that actually obviously expand out into the continent, and they would have been used to obviously a certain level of product and a certain level of service within South Africa. And then when they go out, say up in Central Africa, they find that they're not able to access at least the same level of quality or service at the right price, because then they either have to get their products coming, as Mbongeni mentioned, from Europe, typically good quality but at very high price points, or they get them out from the east where they come in, but then you find that the quality is actually lacking a little bit. So we're able to actually move with our customers as they expand further into the continent.
I also understand another interesting part of this deal is that it has enabled the company to improve its black empowerment credentials and black ownership credentials substantially. Yes. Can you elaborate on that?
We are invested in a consortium, that's us, RMB Ventures and Corvest, as you mentioned earlier, and alongside management as well as Ethos Mid-Market Fund 1. Now the combination of that shareholder body has improved the black shareholding of Kevro substantially. Now Kevro, as we speak, is a black controlled entity. And those credentials are actually imparted by largely Ethos Mid-Market Fund 1, as well as some from RMB Ventures through first rank shareholding, as well as RMB Corvest.
And I imagine that that improved shareholding will make them again more competitive in the market.
We definitely believe that improved empowerment credentials provide an improved competitive advantage. We do not necessarily believe that some of our competitors have achieved this level of empowerment, and we do think that as corporate South Africa shifts towards preferential supply where empowered companies get preference over non-empowered companies, this will put Kevro in good stead to win more business.
Who is RMB Ventures and how do you approach private equity type transactions?
RMB Ventures is a division of RMB. We were started in the mid-90s. We've been in the private equity business since then. We've done close to 45 transactions, pure private equity. We've also supported other up-and-coming emerging black fund managers. We are sector agnostic as investors, so we invest across board. However, our mandate precludes us from investing in property, in direct mining and in direct agriculture. However, we are able and willing to invest in the supply chain of those sectors. What
we're really looking to do is to partner with management. I mean, our firm is founded on the spirit of partnership, where we come in, not on our own, but along an experienced management team, and we assist them in terms of achieving their objectives and their strategic initiatives. Not only with management, but with fellow like-minded investors. So in this transaction, you'd note that we've partnered with our sister company, Corvest, as well as Ethos Mid-Market Fund 1. And largely across our portfolio, we have other private equity players that we've partnered with.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.